Hey everyone, Kino here, back with another reaction. So I just went and watched Godzilla Minus One, which a lot of people have been talking about as a really good movie. And if you're just looking for a quick recommendation, let me give that. I definitely would recommend you going to see this film. It is fantastic. I was told it was one of the best Godzilla films in the whole series, the Japanese Godzilla films. And even though I've only ever seen the original Godzilla, so I don't know the entire series, this definitely feels like a really good, not only just Godzilla film, but a good film in general. Like, it's a very human centric story. So if you're someone who maybe you're not into the whole Godzilla, fighting other rubber monsters bit, you'll still like this film. In fact, you'll like it even more because there's no other monsters in this one. It's just Godzilla. It's more so about him being a force of nature. And like I said, the story is very human centric. It's focused on this one little family, and the Godzilla stuff is almost kind of like a backdrop set to set the story against. So I definitely recommend you going to see it. A lot of people are raving about it, and I am as well. Really, really good, solid movie, and definitely enjoyable. So go check that out. I will get into the specifics of what I like about it. There will be spoilers in this, so I would definitely recommend just going to watch it if you can. But if you want to hear about what I liked about it, feel free to stick around. So, like I said, this movie is a human-centric story. It's about this kamikaze pilot. It's set during World War II, or shortly after World War II. And this guy, the main character, he's kind of a coward at the beginning. He didn't want to complete his, suicide mission, and he stops off at this island to get repairs on his plane, and Godzilla attacks the island. Now, at the beginning, Godzilla is smaller, and then later on, he grows really big because of, I think the Americans dropped a nuclear bomb on him. But he's still big even when he's smaller, but he goes onto this island and he's killing the soldiers on there, and they want the main character to get in his plane and shoot the Godzilla, but he again hesitates, and so the Godzilla kills all but one of the soldiers, who is like, it's your fault because you were too much of a coward to shoot, that all these people died. So he was not feeling great even before this, but then when that happens, he is definitely not happy about it. So he goes back to Tokyo, which has been completely bombed out by the Americans. His parents are dead. His neighbor lady is like, "You're a coward because you're a kamikaze pilot and you're still alive." So she talks shit on him too. But one day he's just walking around, and he encounters this woman who's running because she stole something, and like the guy's like chasing after her, and she like hands him her baby, and she runs away. And now he's like, "What the hell?" Later on, the woman finds him again, and they form this kind of little family. The baby is not her baby biologically; it's an orphan who she found. Like, the parents were like, "Take our baby." So none of the three are technically related or in like any kind of relationship, but they form this little nuclear family, so to speak, in the aftermath of the war, and they're trying to just survive together. And it's a very cute little family there. But then obviously Godzilla comes back and attacks, and they have to band together to get rid of Godzilla because the military can't do it for some reason, or the government can't do it. So it's up to all the individual little citizens. So like I said, the story is really focused on this family and the story, particularly the main character. If I had one criticism of the film, it's that they do really kind of shortchange the woman, the mother, quote unquote, even though not the biological mother, but the woman who is a love interest for the main character too. They shortchange her. We don't really get any insights into her character, who she was before the war. It's pretty much all dedicated to the main guy and his emotional journey to kind of forgive himself for being a coward in a war, and realizing the importance of life and family over, like, dying bravely for your country. So it's anti kamikaze pilot. I don't know if that's controversial to anyone in Japan, but it definitely says that, like, we shouldn't, we should try to survive to take care of our families. So I will say that's my one criticism of the film is that they could have fleshed her out more. They actually kill her off for a little bit in the film. She like saves the main character by pushing him out of the way of Godzilla's like giant blast. And she gets blown away and it's presumed that she's dead. However, at the end of the film, after defeating Godzilla, he gets a telegram that's like, "Oh no, she's alive." Um, and the last line of the film is really cheesy for me because again, she's been presumed dead, and he's like, "Oh, I loved her. I never got a chance to tell her that I wanted to be husband and wife for real and raise this child with her." And then he finally gets to do that at the end. And when he opens the hospital door and she's alive, she's bandaged up because she was like in a coma or something, but she's alive. The first word out of her mouth is, "So is your war finally over?" Because that was the recurring thing of the like the war was still lingering with him inside of him, and that's why he couldn't really open up to her emotionally. And I found that to be that line in particular was very cheesy. It was like, "So did you learn the thematic lesson you were supposed to learn by the end of the film?" And I was like, okay, that's obviously a writer line there. Maybe it sounds different in Japanese because again, this is a Japanese film. It's not the American Godzilla versus Kong franchise. This is the Toho Japanese series of Godzilla films. That was the only thing I didn't like about the film, but like I said, everything else was fantastic. It's a very simple story, simple message, but it's just executed so well that it works. And people were saying that this might be the best Godzilla film of all time. Now, even though I have only ever seen the original Godzilla, I haven't seen the whole franchise except for like clips here and there. This definitely felt very much in line with the first Godzilla film from 1954. If you ever saw that film, one, it's a very somber film. It's not really like the goofy, like, man in a rubber suit fighting other monsters thing that the series would become. No judgment against that, because again, it's part of the genre of kaiju films. It started the whole genre there, right, in Japan. In the same way that the cowboys squaring off at the town square at high noon is a central part of the cowboy genre. So even though you could say it's kind of cheesy or whatever, it's a central part of that genre. So no judgments against that. But I will say that what I really liked about the first one was its kind of somber tone and its very human centric story. And in that one, Godzilla is more like a force of nature or like an act of war. And it's almost like a tragedy, that movie's. And this film definitely carries on with that. There are some action beats, but it's very much about the human characters, and it's not really action focused. In fact, in the theater when I was watching it, I felt kind of bad because in front of us was like this group of kids. I think they were on like a field trip or something, because they had a chaperone with them too. And I felt them getting a little restless because, again, there's not a lot of like monster destroying stuff scenes. There are some of those, but most of it's dedicated to this guy who has PTSD and his relationship with his family. And I felt the kids were kind of getting a little bit like, okay, let's get back to the monster fighting. It does end in this climactic battle against Godzilla. Obviously, they set up that they're not done with Godzilla films. I don't know if this is connected in continuity with any of the other films, but it feels like a prequel almost. Maybe that's what -1 means. It's like the prequel before even like the original Godzilla. I don't know if that's the case or not. But still a really good film. I would definitely recommend it, even if you're not a Godzilla fan. Like I said, it just works on its own. So that is my quick kind of reaction here. I just wanted to share it because I feel like in a world where so many like shitty, crappy movies that over rely on cheap premises and cheap CGI or whatever. This has CGI. It's a fully CGI movie. It's not a guy in a rubber suit anymore. But it just tells such a compelling human story that I almost wish there wasn't a Godzilla part of it, just because I was like, oh man, I just like these characters. But again, it is tied into Godzilla. The whole Godzilla like apocalypse is the inspiration behind this guy discovering the importance of family. And I also recognize that like the reason this film was able to get made was because it's capitalizing on the Godzilla, branding. I wouldn't have seen this film if it was just some random Japanese film about PTSD or whatever. It would still be a good film, but it wouldn't have the audience it has without the Godzilla aspect. So definitely recommend you checked it out. I don't really have anything else to say. It's just a fantastic film. And stay tuned for more reactions coming soon.